The president has got himself and America stuck in the quagmire of another war in the Middle East. He's desperately trying to extricate himself from his own mistakes.
My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan. The way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies. Shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand, and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for? Our troops are doing incredible work.
He is calling people who criticize the war saying they're against the troops. Is that anywhere near fair?
Well, he's saying that what their rhetoric is not matching reality, and their rhetoric doesn't certainly help the war effort. I mean, it's not a quagmire. That is ridiculous. We've been there 2 months. Obama was in Libya for 7 or 8 months. I don't recall Democrats worrying about the word quagmire back then. And also Democrats, I think, have had a hard time grasping the mission, which HEGSETH was quite clear about today. The president's been clear about, which is we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And Democrats and Republicans have traditionally agreed on this goal for a very long time. Now, it's only Trump who's decided to do something about it. The blockade is working. We're draining the Iranian economy. They've got nowhere to put their oil. A little patience here, and this may turn out with exactly what we want, which is Iran not having a nuclear weapon. That's the goal. That's what we're headed for.
The people who think it's a quagmire are actually the American people. That is why the approval for the president's war effort is in the 30s, not the 50s, the 60s, like most military engagements, but in the 30s, because a broad majority of Americans are concerned about the costs of the war, but they're also concerned about these goals you just laid out not being achieved in any way, shape, or form. We were all against a nuclearized Iran. Just to remind everyone, we had a system where we had no nuclear, Iran had no nuclear access, no nuclear weapons.
False.
No, they had no nuclear weapons.
They
do not have nuclear weapons. That is your lying when you say. Did they have nuclear weapons? They did not.
Enriched uranium.
They did not have nuclear weapons.
And they're on the brink of having 11 bombs. That's what Obama left us.
The brink. What is a brink? A year, 2 year, 10 years?
Weeks.
Regardless.
The experts say weeks.
The issue right now is, because of this war, the Iranians have something they never had before, which is a chokehold on the global economy. That you're laughing, but you know what? You laugh at the pain that is causing people at the pump. It's causing farmers.
I laugh at
you're laughing at people's pain. I'm not. I'm saying nobody. Actually, the people who've strengthened the IRGC are the people who have engaged in this war and given them this chokehold. Yes, I think the IRGC is strengthened. Actually, their hold on the Iranian people is stronger than ever. You know, if they were so weak, why wouldn't they have run to get a negotiation already? We are weeks into this with no final resolution. If they were so desperate, why haven't they caved?
How long should it have taken? 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours?
I don't know.
What's the nearest military strategy timeline?
It's not my military strategy. It's Donald Trump's military strategy. I mean, you may call it unbelievable, but people are suffering in this country, and I know. You know what's ridiculous? I'm sorry. What's ridiculous is that you laugh at the pain. You laugh at the pain of Americans. Okay, I'm concerned about the people of America, and you are just doing partisan
questions or makes a critique. To turn that into cheering for Iran, it's just as disingenuous.
She said their IRGC is strengthened. Do you agree with that?
They are strengthened.
Listen, I know that
their hold on the country.
I know that there hasn't been regime change the way that Donald Trump wants to tell us there is. I don't know if they are strengthened or not. I think when this is over, we will know. But I do know that asking legitimate questions, and I think a lot of the people in America have questions about what we are doing, what it's costing, questions that were asked in this hearing today. That doesn't mean you are cheering for Iran. That means you are cheering for America. Let me just say this. I don't think this hearing today served much of a purpose. I think we've gotten used to these spectacles and performances
I agree with you about this.
in Congress where there is a lot of screaming, often on both sides. It's often Congress people screaming at the person testifying and the person testifying screaming back at Congress. In this case, it was a lot more one-sided. It was Pete Hegseth doing most of the screaming. I think Pete Hegseth bringing up how long we were in Vietnam or Iraq may not be as helpful as he thinks to his argument because people have very bad memories about that. I don't think we learned much as an American people who want answers. I don't think we learned much.
The president doesn't have the luxury all the time of making foreign policy decisions to weigh it against all gas prices and polling. When there is a threat, he has to act on it. He has to make a series of decisions that lead him to that. Right now, 2 months into this, we have had a ceasefire for over a week, and we are talking to the Iranians. We have a blockade that has now 23 ships parked in Iran. You know where that oil goes? It goes to China. It goes there, and that's what it's be very interesting to see what happens in Beijing when Xi and Trump meet. Now, I don't know what him and Vladimir Putin talked about, but what I do know is this. Secretary HEGSETH tried to just pump. Now, he obviously robustly defended the president, pushed back, made a bit of a spectacle, to be fair. And I think it's not wrong for liberals and other Americans to have questions. I think the administration should answer all of them.
It's not just liberals having questions.
No, I agree, and I said all Americans. But what I am saying is I don't believe hyperbole and using quagmire fits. By the way, let's just note, Scott, you brought up a great point. The economy is crashing, and the truth is the Iranian military is a mess. Right now, and noted in that Wall Street Journal article, when the economy collapses, the people rise up, and at the end of the day, we want the people to have control of that government.
But the problem here is
That's
in
the
the
issue.
history of modern warfare, regime change is never achieved by air power alone. Right?
That's why we have blockades.
So but neither are they achieved by.
What about when you throw in the Navy? Does that help?
Well,
historically, it has
we're
not
destroying their economy. We're destroying their currency.
Scott, just for 1 second, stop the
go
talking
ahead,
points.
John.
So, look.
The blockade is a talking point? Is it not really happening?
If let's try to imagine what you would say if a Democratic president attacked Iran suddenly without making a case for war to the American people. That, and did it without any allies. The problem
you seem
is,
to be mistaken about my views on Iran. I think they're butchers and terrorists, and I think we're 7 presidents too late. I'd have been happy for anybody to drop anything but pallets of cash on them,
the Islamic
John.
Republic of Iran is a force for evil and obviously can't be allowed to be a nuclear power.
Congrats, welcome to the party.
What the strike was in June seriously degraded their forces.
Agreed.
The problem is that the United States all of a sudden joined Israel very quickly without any case for war being made, and now there is no plan to get out of this. It is easy to blunder into war. It is very hard to get out of it, and that's why our allies are saying, we're not with the U.S. on this because no case was made. That's why the war is unpopular at home, because no case has been made. And as Teddy Roosevelt once said, it is unpatriotic and servile to not criticize your leaders, even in a time of war.
And I also think the fact is that Americans are paying for this war. They are paying. Gas prices went up again today to over $4.25 on average, over $100 barrels of oil. Now, people here, you can say that's no big deal to the American public. It's okay for them to bear that burden.
It is a big deal.
Okay.
Hold on.
I'm saying the point is here that people are bearing a burden, and I don't think Republicans who cheerlead are acknowledging that pain.
The cost of the war is an issue with the American people, and I think always has been, just looking at how much things cost in comparison with what the problems are in the country, which is why a lot of people, and I think you can agree with this, Scott, why there are a lot of Republicans or those who were very diehard MAGA supporters are concerned, if not angry, about going into this war because the president did say no new wars. Let me let you hear, the Pentagon CFO says that the cost of the war has been about $25 billion so far. Let's listen.
So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is munitions. There's part of that it's obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
Sure. So you're saying the full cost at this point is $25 billion?
Yeah, that's our estimate for the cost.
Okay. Interesting, because I'm glad you answered that question, because we've been asking for a hell of a long time and no one's given us the number.
So we're getting a number there and an answer there. To you, TW, is the cost worth it? Do you think that the American people will look at this and say, this has been worth it?
Well, I was glad to hear him say that a lot of that was for munitions replacement, especially after recent reporting and the vice president saying, I am concerned about it. We should all be concerned about it. There's a whole array of things that we have to deal with. But we've also spent how much in Ukraine? $300 billion over several years by some estimates. Look, Russia's a threat. I support Ukraine. We should support Ukraine. But this threat from Iran directly impacts the United States of America. And I'm sorry, I don't think imminent means it's sitting on a rocket launcher waiting to blow. And one of the great things I think that the Trump administration is pushing that wasn't in the JCPOA was ballistics, making sure they can't get the technology to get it to our country and to our men and women overseas.
Do you have that deal? Do they have that deal?
That's what we're working on.
Have the Iranians agreed to that deal? I mean, I hope they get that deal,
we're trying
but
to figure out who's in charge that could kill so many of them.
Okay, but we don't have a negotiating partner. So I think that's an issue here, which is you're laying out a series of goals, and of course we all want to denuclearize Iran and not having a nuclear weapon. But there is no assurance we're getting that at the end of the day. In fact, their most recent negotiating tactic is to open the Strait of Hormuz and just put the nuclears aside.
What do you have to say? In fact, to be honest, this crisis between the US and Iran has caused a lot of damages. Let me not say much. Drop your own opinion in the comment section. See you in the next one, and bye.